Hi, welcome to Kim's Art Show, episode 24. So we're continuing on pastel, and I was thinking, like, in terms of pastel artists, there are a few contemporary ones that I follow. However, I think the person who comes to mind most is Degas. And so I brought in this huge, wonderful book that I have on Degas. Normally, I think I would go to the internet, maybe Pinterest, and I would search like Degas pastels, and I might come up with a few references, but we're going to be like old school, and I'm going to take out my book and show you just a couple. So when you go to museums, often pastels are in kind of dimly lit rooms, and that has nothing to do with the pastel pigment itself, but moreover the substrate or the paper that it's on, because paper now is very archival and resilient, but paper back in the day was not as resilient. And so that paper needs to be under special circumstances. So the rooms are dim, but you can still see how vibrant and beautiful the pigment of the pastels are. So Degas did a lot of horses and ballerinas, and he wasn't my favorite kind of feminist, if you get my meaning, but his artwork is really wonderful. And it's kind of funny that one of his, friends was Mary Cassatt, because he didn't have a very high opinion of women, and yet she's such a wonderful woman impressionist. Here's a piece in pastel that I wanted to show, just because of the rawness of the pastel. You can particularly see how the background and the clothing is shown. It's really just suggested, but also energetic. And I think that that's what I really like about pastels, like that immediacy. You get a different impact from oil. And so I thought that that was a good example. These are oils. But you can kind of see that an informative artist, like who's working in pastel, can carry all of the information that he has about pastel into oil to do work like these, the ironers. Let's see, can you see these, right? It's kind of raw still, and you can see the substrate behind. Now these are oils, right? But there's something very like pastel informed about this piece. So I just wanted to share. So those are Degas. Nothing like blanking when you're making a little show. So today we're going to be doing a painting of the Northern Lights. In my lifetime, I'm so surprised that we have had these episodes where we can see the Northern Lights here in Norfolk, Mass. It's impressive. I had seen them last when I studied in Brittany, France, which is the northwest corner, and it's pretty high. It's on the same latitude as like Nova Scotia, I believe. So we did see the Northern Lights when I was there, and it was gorgeous. And so it's been fun to see the Northern Lights here. We are working on pastel matte paper by Claire Fontaine. The paper is remarkable. It's very, first, archival, and second, it's a little bit rigid, but also it's smooth, smooth, smooth. And it accepts layer after layer after layer of pastel. And it's pretty impressive. Okay, so making sure that I have all my notes. Yeah, we're good. So like always, I work with gloves just because I want to keep my hands clean, and pastel is like pure pigment. So I'm going to keep that out of contact with my skin, especially like under my fingernails, We're working on with Sennelier pastels, and I wanted to show, I've said it a few times, right? Like this is a set of half pastels, 80 colors. So it's like 80 colors for the price of 40 sticks. For Christmas one year, I was gifted this set, the Paris collection, 120 colors, right? And you'd think more is better, but sometimes it's not the case. This one is just awkward enough to be difficult to fit into my bag, But also, some of the colors aren't the same as are in this collection. But look at how beautiful, right? Like, of course I fall in love. And you'll see, like, I use up greens and blues all the time. Look, poor sky. So we'll be using those, as well as the Harder Stick NuPastel, NU, Pastel. And then I have my fancy ones that usually come at the end. So we'll see how far we go. This picture that I'm working from, is one of the main streets in Norfolk. And my pickleball friend, this is her house, and she shared this photo, and I immediately was like, that looks like something that might be fun to try. Now, gosh, it is a nocturne. There are the Northern Lights in it, architecture, angles, like gosh. And again, I kind of did a quick sketch. I don't think the sketch is right, so I might revisit. And the proportion here is different than this proportion. And obviously with the Northern Lights, I really want to be seeing more sky. So I'm going to maybe, because I kind of gave myself an 8x10, move it up just a little bit. And so we'll get going. And so hopefully by now, we know that I start with big shapes and refine, refine, refine. I had such problems with my printer at home today. And I had been thinking all week, like, what am I going to work on for the show? And then the Northern Lights came just a couple of days ago. So I was pretty content that I would give that a shot. With architecture, I tend to do a little bit more drawing, and I try to make things kind of accurate. Doesn't that sound convincing? But, you know, it's like while I want it to feel a certain way, I will take liberties, of course, right? We all have artistic license. Except for when I do commissions. And for the holidays, I do paintings of people's homes and their pets on ornaments, and can't really take liberties there, right? You want your dog to look like your dog, or your house to look like your house. So see too how the lines don't matter if they're not exact. I will make it right. And thank goodness this paper accepts layer upon layer upon layer, right? So I'll fix that reference in a minute. This is shrubbery. There's a fence here. There's another fence over here. Then there's road. This is where that proportion is going to be a little funny. So I'll see if I can make it make sense. Tree, lights. Okay, so let's see. Do I think that that'll work? I do. Let's fix this picture. I brought in all kinds of tools to try to help me out, but I also want to show you about the tools too, because the tools for pastel are different. Different from the tools for gouache, etc. Did that work? That might have worked. So see, I have this. You might know it as a sink strainer, but it's a wonderful tool to like sharpen your pastel, right? And I have it over a little bowl. Of course, I have tape. I have my disposable gloves. I have my little crocheted companion, right? I also have this, which is super cool. It is a small pad of sandpaper. And much like this little strainer, it is so that I can sharpen an edge. And it comes in very handy. I also have special brushes that sometimes come with sets of pastels. Like if you buy a set, sometimes you get like little freebie add-ons. And they're short because you just hold them in your like palm and you can blend your pastel. And then there are the blending stumps, pencils, etc. So I also have fixative. Okay, so these are sprays. One is workable and one is final. And when I was in art school, I worked at a custom picture framing shop, and pastels were a nightmare because they dust. And we loved artists who sprayed their pastels because it fixes the dust to the surface. And so I very much don't want my pastel to like flick onto the glass. I want you to just see through the glass and enjoy the pastel. And so I use fixative, but I've learned when to apply it, and like last touches tend to not be under fixative, but the surface has been created well enough that the pastel doesn't dust. So enough talking. I think that looks good. So let's start to figure out colors, etc. So we're going to start at the top, and I'm going to try to figure out what color is the sky. And I'm on this cuckoo, like warm orange type color. And let's see. All right, so it's a bit of a gradient through those cuckoo beautiful northern lights. And I'm starting with the NuPastels. It's pretty hard. Again, I put it in like at a little bit of a slant so that I remember that I've used it. There's like a magenta that kind of gets into there. I can't even believe that I'm using these colors for the sky. It's so much fun. Now there's a funny little line, right? Like sometimes if you see a sunset, it is unbelievable. And as a photo, you believe it. But as a painting, it's kind of not something that you could believe. And so I'm going to see if I can pull this off, because sometimes it just looks like I didn't have a good sense of color, right? But I think we'll get it, that it's Northern Lights. See, if I try to blend, you can't really even see that I blended. It's remarkable, this paper. Okay, what color is this house? So the house is kind of this beautiful blue, but it's nighttime, and so nighttime changes that color. And so let's see, is it this color? Well, this color is right over here. That looks nice. Good choice, me. And I'm gonna put some over here. But like the house is a different color where the street lights kind of are hitting, and so I need this color, but lighter. And of course, it's not like evident where it is. It doesn't have a gradient of just this color. So now I'm going to look through my pastels and see if there's one that approximates. And this is where no matter how many pastel sticks you have, it's like you don't have the color you need. It's so funny. Look, so I grabbed this color and I swear they're the same. So that won't do. What about this one? This one could work. So yeah, that's pretty. In the light, it's around here. And so I'm just suggesting this. I'm so happy that this is Emily's house. She lives in a beautiful historic house that years ago I did a calendar for my town, and I first started looking at beautiful historic homes in the area, and hers is just beautiful, and she keeps it so well. Okay, so we have house in shadow, house with light. There are beautiful shadows of trees and things. Of course, I want to get into them, but that's decorating the cake. And we don't do that until we have even baked it, and this is clearly not there yet. Now I'm going to get a dark. Let's get in some darks, including the roof. So that's a good one. That's my house. That's the house in light. Roof, nice and dark. Dare I just do black? Yikes, let's see. So I'm getting out my NuPastel again, nice and hard, and I need it to feel much darker than the other colors that I have. I think that looks good. It's very dark, but it's early and I can layer on top. Maybe I'll just kind of suggest some of the dark down here and over here. But see, I didn't bear down as much, so I didn't place as much pigment. I want it to be dark green. So let's see where we are with dark green. So shrubbery over here. And this is that little nuance where there's very subtle difference for when you come up close to see what it looks like. And at nighttime, it's like all your rules about atmospheric perspective and things are a little altered because you don't have like sunlight. You have all this weird artificial light really playing with us. Right? Okay, so there's more in the background. What color might I do that? It's really fun to do pastels just for the reason of thinking about color and the conversations about, I need a green that is XYZ, and then trying to find it. So there's a row of solid trees behind one of the trees. And I want it to be different than this, different than this, different than this, you know, but subtly different. And you may have guessed that like the way to achieve those subtle differences is to have similar value, lightness or darkness of a color. This is a little bit of a different value scale today, but it's the one that I have with all of my pastels. So they're all very close in value, but they're all different color or hue and temperature. And then a reminder that anytime something about color is confusing, keep in mind that episode 7 is a nice class on color. Okay, that's not right, but I'll cover that up. So, you know, it's like we know, oh, so this is a porch. So see how the house needs to be here. So I accidentally painted the color of the trees in the background. So watch, I'll just get the house, right? And I will claim it on top. Piece of cake. All right, we need this to start to look a little better or I'll start to get really stressed. So let's concentrate. You know, in my studio, I would probably take longer to get to this level. There is something really wonderful about doing this show that it's like stop overthinking, stop wondering and just do, because wondering and overthinking is not entertaining. Am I right? Okay, so I'm grabbing a big new pastel that is a warm gray. And see, I'm putting in the trim. I don't think it's right though. I think I need it to be kind of like a warm, what color is it gonna be? There's something so wonderful again about pastel, like what color? I'll try this one. I think that one's too dark, too dark. Let's see, how about this guy? Let's try this one, watch it be the same. Darker, that's a riot. Okay, try this one. So that's why I think I started the show with gouache. If I can't find the color, like rest assured I can mix the color, right? There's something really nice about that kind of confidence. So I don't love what that color is. I kind of want it to be warmer. So let's see. I'm gonna try this. This is clearly like ivory, creamy, off-white. Okay, and we have this. When I do architecture, I take a few times to land on the appropriate drawing, which is funny considering that I do these, what do we call it? Like ornaments, you know, of people and house portraits all the time. But it's like, I don't know, it's architecture. I love the landscape. So we'll get there. Trust me. Maybe not in one episode, but we'll get there. All right. You know, and some of it is I really should. Should is hard, right? You know what you should do, but what are you doing? I should step back and take a look. So I will in a second. This actually comes out like this. And if nothing else, what you can see here is pastel lets you do, you know? And so I will continue to do. Let's see, so trees. I need the dark on top of the little porch, and I need the darks back here, but there is also like a fence. This color isn't different enough. That's kind of a fun thing. Like if I am changing from color to color, I want to make sure that there's a reason. Yeah, I like that. So that's a fence that's in the distance. This is a fence that's in the foreground. All right. It's making sense to me. Maybe not to the camera yet, but I got it. Okay. You can tell when I land on a color that I'm like, oh yeah, this works. Like it's just helping me, kind of almost like when I'm doing gouache and I take a pencil and I get all the little details, helping me get some details. Okay, there's a tree here. And there's a telephone pole over here. And the road. Right, maybe you can start to have a little confidence, like I'm starting to get a little confidence in how it's feeling. Okay, let's kind of go through what color's over here. Well, it's bathed in light. So it's a challenge. What is that? Bathed in light. See, that's too dark. If it were a lighter value, it would be right. Is it this? It might be this. It's kind of like green-white. Too dark still. I'll get it. Sometimes it is just layering. Of course, it's not as easy to layer. I would much rather just find the color, get in there, and make those marks, you know? Sometimes it's not as easy as that. There's a suggestion of something over there. See, and then I like, oh, this is fun, and I start to play. Like, no, slow down. Okay, the door that's on the porch is a dark red, so I'm going to do that brownish maroon. Oh, you know what I just realized? I forgot to show how the painting that I had last week turned out. I really was happy with it, and I had so much fun in my studio working on it. And I did that trick where I brought it in framed. So it looks even better, right? Because it's like, look, it's done. It's like finished. So if I need a minute away from this, then I will go get that. So a painting like this, you can understand why it might actually be considered a drawing, right? Because I just keep going over it and over it. I need that dark. So I'm going to get the black again. It's funny, I don't often use black, but maybe I'll find the darker gray, because black can just look like a cavernous hole. Yeah, that's better. Right, so that's the roof. And then roof over here. And if you know the one that I did before that was like a gouache of like downtown at night, like you know that I eventually pull it together. Just right now, it's in the yuck period in front of all of you, which is a little scary. All right. So I'm just kind of refining the shapes, right? So we have house, sky, road. It's pretty dark over here, and there are other plants, so let's just suggest some of those over here. And it's very dark behind here. And there's this thing, like if my drawing isn't going to be like an architectural rendering, then don't make it close, like make it very far from an architectural rendering so that it feels painterly, right? Being painterly forgives so many sins. All right, so as I learn how much time that I have left, it's obvious that I'll be carrying this into episode 25. So I'll start episode 25 with what I had done for episode 23. I'll show you how that ended, the pastel. It's of a garden. And we'll continue on this one. And I'm sure you're all like, how is she going to pull this one together? And I hope like it comes out well enough, because I want to be able to show my friend Emily what I was able to do with her picture of her gorgeous antique home. You can tell when I'm having fun because I get quiet. I think I talk a lot when I get stressed. That's normal though, right? I think I'm going to want to get out a pencil and refine some of it. These colors in the sky, though, they are unbelievable. What a treat to see them and paint them. And so you'll see as I build this up, right, that I have some sense of, all right, it's all brought to a certain level. I've played with the house a lot. Now I'm going to play with the back of, the sky. Then I'm going to play with the road. And I want to make sure that everything develops at the same level. Let's say that I did something and I thought, that's great. It's important not to make that precious, but to keep kind of developing it and bringing it all up to the same level together. And eventually you need to do no more work because it's all at the right level. So I don't know that the house is sitting like I want, but I will get it. I just have to be confident that I can figure it out. And there's some lights that I'm going to start to pull in and refine some of those shapes. And I know leaving a painting like this is very enticing to make sure that you come back for episode 25. That's the continuation. And a lot of this painting has been what the heck was I going to say? A lot of this painting has been this like first layer and the drawing. I think the most fun is the next, when you start to do the frosting or the decorating, if we're using the cake analogy. All right, so I'm going to start to refine it. I'm excited to see how this goes. I just have to have faith. I know what I'm doing. This will be fun. So, I hope to see you in episode 25. Where we pull this back to where I want it to be. We're ending solidly in the yuck period. Thanks for watching.